Okay, so we should be live now. Welcome, thank you for being here. My name is Mark Cosgrave. I am the Divisional Manager for Western Europe here at OPTEX. And today I am pleased that you are here as we introduce the REDSCAN Pro, which is an updated version of our RLS series. So just to break this down for you, the presentations are going to be broken into three separate parts. Each presentation will be around about 30 minutes long in duration, and during each part we will look at certain parts of the REDSCAN itself. In this part we'll be looking at an introduction, so you'll be able to see a little bit about the product itself and how it compares to our existing lineup. Then my colleague Milton Acosta will present a second part, which will look at the practical introduction to the product, which is when he will do an out-the-box presentation and also a connection. And then there'll be a further third part, which is a technical introduction, which is when we'll look at how to set the unit up. The idea is that we appreciate your time is precious, so we've broken it down into these three compartments, so that you can take the relevant one. But this introduction one is a key presentation because it will give you references to our existing lineup. For questions, if you do have any questions, you will find in your dashboard there is the opportunity to be able to enter in any questions that you have. The questions, we have people in the background which will be able to answer those questions in either English, Italian or Spanish. If we appreciate this, there's quite a few of you today. So if we don't get around to your questions, we will send you through an answer over email. So please put down any questions that you might have. Okay, so into the presentation. So applications for LiDAR have grown over the last decade. And we're now seeing LiDAR detection being used in a range of different types of applications across different industries. The reason for that is that the technology is advancing and it's extremely reliable in what it's able to do. So for OPTEX, we first introduced a LiDAR system back in 2009, and that was called the RLS 3060. This particular product, as you can imagine now, is 12, 13 years old, so the hardware itself has limitations. So what we've been doing over the last few years is to develop an update to that. So in 2013 we created the L and the SH series, and then we subsequently released the RLS Mini series, which I have here so you can see for size, in 2015. In 2017 we did a firmware update on the RLS 3060 up to version 8, and then we also in 2018 did a firmware update on the RLS Mini. That brings us up to today. There's only so far that we could take this hardware, so it was necessary for us to update the hardware and the firmware. So we took some decisions about what we needed to do when we were considering the creation of a new REDSCAN series. So one of the things that we've been doing is talking to our customers, yourself, our partners, and understanding what are the key things that we need to improve upon from the RLS 3060. So we looked at setup, reliability, range, security, and integration. These were the 5 key points that we learned needed to be improved in the product. And this is where we particularly have paid attention with the development of the new series. So very, very briefly, I just wanted to quickly introduce you to how LiDAR actually works. So LiDAR is an acronym, so it actually means laser imaging detection and ranging. And what's actually happening is that inside the head itself, there is a rotating mirror. That mirror or lens is then scattering the infrared light, which is being emitted from the sensor. That then comes into contact with an object, and then a reflection comes back, and we're able to, from that, calculate the size and also the direction and the speed. Now, as I mentioned, the light, the signal that's being emitted is infrared. Now, the reason that we're using infrared is, as you can see, that the bandwidth is relatively short. What that means is that we're able to give you highly accurate measurements, and that's why infrared and LiDAR technology is being used, is because it's highly accurate measurement device. So the family tree, what is the lineup that we have today? So as I mentioned, the RLS 3060 was the granddaddy of all of these products. We brought out the 3060L and the SH series, and now those series will be in time replaced for the RLS 3060V and the RLS 5100V. I'll come on to what that means in a moment. But just to quickly give you a quick overview of the RLS 2020, which is the mini series. So just to touch upon this particular model has two different series. We have the 2020i and the 2020s. The I series is for the internal applications and the S series is for external applications. But it's called the Mini because of its size, of course, and it's utilized for different small, medium to short range applications. So as we start to then look at the other series and we start to take some comparisons between the units. So as I mentioned, we have the RLS 3060L, which some of you will already be familiar with, and many of you I'm sure have installed the product. Now the actual detection distance was a 30-meter radius, which gave you a 60-meter total coverage. Being a radius, particularly in horizontal and vertical applications, there were some limitations because it was giving you that arc. So with the 3060V series, which is the new model we have, we've actually changed that. So we're still covering an area of 30 meters by 60 meters, but it's actually going to be a square now. Now that's really going to help, particularly in the real world applications, as you're trying to calculate your required detection distance. That square rectangular detection area is far more easier for you as customers to be able to assign the right sensor for the right application. As we move on and we compare the other units within the series, so the RLS 3060SH, now this particular model had the ability to have an expansion zone, which took the standard detection range of 30 meters by 60 meters, and you could expand that up to 50 meters. Now actually we have the RLS 5100. What that means is that it has an arc of a detection range of 50 meters by 100 meters, and again it's a rectangular detection area, and as you can see, substantially larger detection area with using that particular model over its over the RLS 3060SH. So it's a significantly larger detection area on this model. So just to quickly go back, so our focus points was on setup, reliability, range, security, and integration. So how did we improve the setup of the system? So what we did is, you will notice that with the RedScan RLS 3060V and the RLS 3060 5100V, there's now an integrated camera. This camera is used for setup and many other things actually, but primarily it's going to be used for setup. It's going to be able to give you a visual indicator of where the detection area is, and you're able to then use that to align the sensor along with the LAC1 for the longer range adjustments. But this particular camera will allow you to be able to have quick alignment of the system. The camera can also be utilized to confirm the activations. So the unit itself, in the past, when the RLS series would activate, it would not store that unless you were connected to a laptop. That can create some issues. So what we've done now is added some software and a memory into the unit where there's an activation, we will actually register the detection, and actually record the photo and save it into the device itself. So if you're retrospectively coming back to the site to see what happened and why the sensor activated, you can go into the log and then be able to see what actually activated the sensor. So that's a really helpful tool for you to be able to retrospectively make adjustments if they were necessary. So these are two key features that have been utilized in the new setup of the series. So the other thing that we were asked to do was to look at reliability. Laser detections, you know, it's using active infrared, and it is monitoring its environment to make sure that it can make adjustments to those changing weather conditions. Now, one of the key things that can happen is that when we have extreme levels of fog, the sensor its detection area can be minimized. So what we've done is that we've included several new technologies to overcome the difficulties that we may have faced in the past. So one of the things that we've done is we've now included what we call advanced echo analyzation, which means that what we're doing is that we're actually looking for not just one return signal from an object, we're also looking for multiple signals being returned. Also, we have advanced processing capability of the unit. So what we're able to do is to take more measurements and be able to identify more readily what it is the sensor is actually looking at. So that's key and pivotal in being able to adjust to the environment whilst maintaining the detection, which is important in today's world. So these are key improvements that we've done to the system to ensure that it can overcome any issues that you may have faced in the past. So there are other some other points that we've included when we talk about the range. So this was part of a request that we received from many customers, is that the detection range is quite vast, and there may be requirements for different settings depending on the area that you're having. So if you want a particular area which is more sensitive to a different area, because this may be a high traffic area, or this could have a different there could be more of a risk from crawling. So you may want the sensor to be more sensitive in a particular area. Now, that was only possible by using 2 red scans in the past, where today what you're able to do is to use the same red scan and then be able to adjust the different areas, and it gives them different sensitivity adjustments. So you can detect different things in different areas. The other thing that's capable with this system is that we have boundary recognition. So if you're utilizing different types of technology, it can't go out to the actual perimeter. So if you're using, for instance, PIRs or anything like that, because of things like interference or overshooting. Now, because you're using a laser detector, what you're able to do is to accurately measure the detection area and go right up to the actual barrier itself. So this ensures that you get total security and total coverage. So this is a key point, and one of the things that we like to emphasize about this particular sensor, and particularly now having the greater distances, is that you're able to cover more area. So the other factor, that we had to improve upon was the security. Now, the device itself is a security device, so it comes with all of the standard things that you would expect. It has its tampers, it has anti-masking, anti-rotate. If there's a build-up of soil or some degradation to the lens itself, the system's monitoring that. And also, if the sensor fails, it actually will go into an alarm condition and will report that to the system. So the sensor itself is monitoring itself and all the standard things. But we have to remember that this is an IP device, and we're connecting these generally into people's networks. And as we can all appreciate, security, particularly online, is even more important today than it's been in the past. So what we've now done is we've increased or enhanced the network security of the system. What this is to do is to ensure that no matter the type of application that you're installing it from, a normal commercial premises up to the high-level financial districts or data centers, we have now the security on the network side of things, also for accessing the device remotely or through the network itself, or the transmission of the data itself. Everything is encrypted. So that was one of the key requirements that we got from our customers. So the other improvements that we've done, now we appreciate that there's a lot of REDSCANs that have been installed in the past, and you may want to update them with the RLS 3060V series. So it still comes with the Redwall event codes, the SDK. So if you were using a RLS 3060 through IP and you wanted to upgrade, or there was a requirement for a replacement, you can swap them over without there being any issues with compatibility. So it still maintains that REDSCAN event code. The additional thing that we've also included is to make sure that the product is compatible with ONVIV Profile S. Now that's to allow the product to be able to communicate on a more general platform, on a more industry known one. So there aren't going to be any additional integration issues that you may have had in the past. You can automatically just take it straight out of the box and it will work with an ONVIV ready system or an ONVIV compatible system, whether that's access control, DMSs and things like that. So it means that there's no requirements for additional changes or anything like that. So those were the key 5 common improvements that we've done. But where do you actually use the RLS 3060V and the 5100V? Well, now that the device can be used in multiple different applications, I'm sure these are common security applications that you've seen in the past. So building facade, you know, this is a primary request that we get asked for. This is because there may not be a barrier between an intruder and the premises itself, and it's not monitored. So if somebody does come up to the premises itself, we're able to give you an alert. Rooftop detection, something that is generally missed. You know, it is an access point, particularly if you have skylights and applications like that. So we're doing that more and more, where we're installing the sensor on the roof. It's able to monitor if anybody's up there moving around and be able to generate an alarm should there be anything, any reason to do that. Surveillance, integration with the surveillance systems to ensure that your CCTV system is optimized. The device is used for this all the time to ensure that there is situational awareness, to ensure that your system is operating to its maximum capacity. You don't want to be recording nothing. The scanner can be there to detect an alert, direct the camera, increase the record time, ensure that you get good images of the activation that's happening. Obviously, the device is used for perimeter protection as well. So you're going to be using this product if there is a barrier out there that you want to detect. Anybody that tries to cut through your fence or climb over or crawl under, this device is able to sit out on the perimeter and be able to detect any intrusion coming in. Another feature that we've included is loitering. This is generally an act that we see before an intrusion, and an intruder will wait. He will survey what's happening before he enters into the building or enters into the premises. Now, this is a really good feature that we had included on the RLS V series. This will allow you to monitor the movement of people, and if they stay for any period of time, which you can set, you can then activate the system. The other thing that we now do, because of the ONVIV integration, automation is becoming more and more required from customers themselves. So if there is an activation, what you're able to do is integrate with third-party systems, for instance, like with lighting or surveillance or speakers and horns or the system itself. So these are all very, using the ONVIV integration, it's very helpful to be able to do that, as well as utilizing the onboard alarm outputs. So the system can dual path communicate through the alarm outputs and also with the ONVIV. So you can integrate that system fully with a lot of different applications. So there's some of the common security applications, but to be honest with you, we've been able to implement LiDAR technology in a whole different realm of different applications, from utilizing them in utilities, things like water treatment facilities. We've used them for telecommunications, recycling plants, We've also been using them not just for security applications, but also for transportation. I'm sure some of you will be familiar with the work that we've been doing with Network Rail and with tunnel protection, with metro systems. And you'll also have seen some of the case studies that we've done on perimeter protection and utilizing the sensors during solar farm, for solar farm systems. So it really is a broad, different applications which this system can be used for. So that concludes the introduction to the system. So where do you go from here? So please reach out to us if you have any comments, or if you'd like to talk to us about any of the applications, or if you have any applications coming up. Milton, I'm sure the people in Spain and Portugal, you're all familiar with Milton. He's there to assist and help with the specification. Marco is Italian account manager, so he's there also to help you if you have any requirements in Italy. I'm sure all of the marketing guys will be familiar with Laura. She's dealing with our marketing side of things, so please get in contact if there's any additional information that you need. Please don't forget, this is part 1 of a 3-part series. So we have part 2, which is the practical introduction, which Milton Acosta will be doing next week. This will give you the opportunity to be able to see an out-the-box presentation, and then also how to connect to the unit, and then be able to see it scanning and the process of the setup. I will then conclude the series with a technical introduction when we look to set the system, and then to look at some of the parameters that we need to be adjusting. So that just leaves me to say thank you so much for your time. As always, we really appreciate you being here today and taking the opportunity to look at to look through this. Look forward to seeing you again in the subsequent presentations. Thank you very much for being here. Take care and see you soon.